Violence in anime goes hand in hand like chocolate and peanut butter, and comes in just as many flavors. From slapstick to brutal fight scenes, there are multiple flavors of it for anime fans to enjoy. However, the setup and the reasoning for the violence, well, that differs depending on the genre. Black Lagoon, in my opinion, is the gold standard when it comes to setting up and delivering on violence in anime. For those who don't know what Black Lagoon is, here's a very quick summary. Black Lagoon is an action/crime anime and manga that's about a group of criminals living in a fictional Thai city Ranapur. They get involved in a lot of trouble, ranging from getting in a crossfire of gang warfare to a family blood feud. Wherever the Black Lagoon company goes, violence is always guaranteed. In the world of Black Lagoon, might makes right, and words are meaningless if you can't back it up with action. It draws a lot of inspiration from American and Hong Kong action movies of the 80s and 90s, and wears that inspiration proudly on its sleeves. There's a deeper story in Black Lagoon, but that isn't what this video is about. How the action scenes are set up in Black Lagoon is due to the narrative. You're told, this is the problem, these are the bad guys. But it doesn't point out to you in an obvious manner, at least not all the time. You'll not be saying, well, what about shonen animes? They use a similar setup like the one you're describing. You'd be right in saying that, but I'd argue how fights and actions are set up in shonen animes are more like boxing matches. Here's an example of what I mean. In Naruto, the audience is usually shown the fighting capabilities of each character. From the beginning, you want to see Naruto fight Sasuke. You get a build-up to it, given a reason to see them fight each other. You see Naruto's development, and you see Sasuke's development. You want to know which one is better, the Chidori or the Rasengan. Natural talent or hard work. When it happens for the first time on top of the hospital, boom! You see it happen, but it ends in a draw, or a win for Naruto, depending on how you see it. You want to see round 2 now. No interference, a definitive winner. You know round 2 is going to happen, it is just a matter of time. In boxing or any combat sports, when there are two competitors that are top of their game, a fight between them is going to happen. It's just a matter of when. And when that first fight is successful monetarily, there's usually a round 2 in the future. Black Lagoon is not a shonen anime. The setup for the action and violence is a lot different. For example, in the first arc of the anime, the Lagoon Company is tasked to deliver a disc to their client. That disc contains information on how to build a nuclear weapon. The conflict is introduced when you're shown that the people who are responsible for that disc wants it back, to prevent any kind of bad publicity that could potentially come out. It wouldn't be a good thing for them if the public knew they were developing nuclear weapons, had plans to sell that information to shady organizations and countries. They hired a group of mercenaries to take it back. You as the viewer are primed to know why it is happening, and are anticipating to see the violence. The violence is used as a payoff to set up for the story. You see how the fuse is lit, and you are watching for the explosion. That setup formula does get more elaborate. There are a lot of examples from the series I can use, but for those that haven't watched Black Lagoon, and for those that have, I think the best one is the Rasta Blasta arc. I think this arc stands out for how well the storytelling was, and how action-packed this anime is. The arc begins with the Lagoon crew on a boat. They were hired by the Colombian cartel to transport a hostage, a boy named Garcia Loveless. Rock has some issue with them essentially assisting in kidnapping, but goes with it regardless. This was the life he had chosen. He is tasked to look after Garcia and to deliver him to the cartel. Rock feels something is a bit off about this job they were taking after talking to the boy. He learns that Garcia comes from a rich family. The reason he was kidnapped was because the cartel failed to intimidate the Loveless family in giving up their land to them. He was possibly going to be used as a bargaining chip in future negotiations. Garcia tells Rock that his family was struggling financially, only having one housemaid, Roberta, under their employ. He is confident that she'll come and take him back home. This is where we learn all the key players in this upcoming conflict. The Colombian cartel, Garcia's maid Roberta, and of course, the Lagoon Company. One more player gets added to this as the story progresses. Dutch, the Lagoon Company's boss, calls in a favor from one of their business partners, Balalaika, the head of the Russian mafia in Ranapur. He wants to know about the Loveless family, particularly this maid Diego was so confident in. It turns out that the Russian mafia has interest in Colombia, and was already planning an operation there. Their interests align. We get another player added in this conflict. We see Roberta, looking extremely out of place wandering the streets of Ranapur. She's asking people where she can find her countrymen, her fellow Colombians. This is all part of her plan. She's gathering information while signaling to the Colombian cartel she wants to be found. Please, come to me so I can interrogate you, find Garcia, then kill you. We learn through the Russian mafia that this maid is a wanted terrorist. She's a member of FARC, the Revolutionary Armed Forces of Colombia. They were a real-world paramilitary organization, responsible for a lot of terrorist attacks and assassinations in Colombia during the Cold War, and remained active until 2017, when the Colombian government and FARC agreed to a peace treaty. Roberta is a trained soldier, and has been involved in bombings, assassinations, and even gotten the nickname of the Bloodhound for her relentless approach in finding her target. In short, Roberta is a certified killer. The Colombian cartel finds Roberta in a bar, but the bullets don't start flying until she sees the Lagoon Company walking with Garcia. This is where we see the payoff that has been building through the first half of the episode. Roberta was the dynamite, the fuse was the cartel, and Garcia was the match. We've been waiting to see her and what she can do, and Roberta, she does not fail to deliver the boom. We get to see why Roberta earned the reputation she did. She flawlessly slaughters the Colombian cartel, and now has her eyes on getting Garcia back. This is where we see why she's called the Bloodhound. Before continuing, I want to note that Garcia was having a mental breakdown. He had never seen this side of Roberta before, and was having a hard time processing everything he was seeing, which is why he doesn't just go back to her right away. The Lagoon Company and Garcia fled in a car, and Roberta becomes the T-1000 from Terminator 2 and starts chasing them down, not letting anything stop her from getting Garcia back. This chase ends on the docks, where a gunfight ensues between Lagoon Company's gunwoman, Revy, and Roberta. Earlier, Revy was humiliated by Roberta, getting concussed after a stray grenade went off near her. Revy wanted payback. This gunfight ends on a draw, when the Russian mafia steps in, wanting the chaos to end in Roberta and to save their business partners, the Lagoon Company. Balalaika tells everyone that Colombian cartel's activities in Colombia has been resolved. The Loveless family doesn't have to worry about them anymore, and everyone can just go home. This is where Garcia learns about Roberta's dark past, but tells everyone she still accepts her for who she is now, a member of his family. This motivates Roberta to continue fighting. Revy, who believes in a criminal's code of honor of sorts, needs to correct her humiliation. This ends in a fistfight that lasts for hours, but has Roberta technically the winner, as she wasn't completely knocked out. This was a fitting conclusion to this arc. It started with a build-up of a character who is described as an almost unstoppable force. Then it goes into a conflict showing how powerful this force was, and ends showing how much damage this force can do and endure. And we get a small build-up of future storylines in the series. In this arc, we see how powerful the Russian mafia is. We learn they are organized, powerful, and brutal. This will come back in a story arc where they essentially do a hostile takeover of the Japanese underworld. And Roberta's return to Roberta, where the Bloodhound causes even more damage and chaos in possibly the best arc of all of Black Lagoon, Roberta's Blood Trail. All of this is set up in this arc. While I could have picked literally almost any story arc in Black Lagoon, I think the Rasta Blasta arc is the best story arc to show how the action is built. You see all the key players, know their roles, and know what to expect when the action happens. I think this arc also is the best introduction for people who haven't watched this anime. It shows how over-the-top crazy the series is, and how deep the story and characters are in the series. And I also picked this arc because of how much information it gives the audience going into future story arcs. It gives you context and believability in the characters' actions going into those future stories. Of course, other episodes help build up the characters and show their development, but this one just stands out to me the most. Setting up an action scene in an anime and watching it pay off after being invested in it can be a very satisfying thing. It is the payout after investing your time and energy watching. It is that dopamine rush you get seeing your favorite character do something cool and walking away looking badass. All that starts from a good setup, narration, and then enjoy the ride. I want to thank Cleylton Santons for the amazing art he did for the thumbnail for this video. It looks amazing. He has a YouTube channel and an ArtStation page. Please check it out. He also does commissions as well. I also want to thank you guys, the viewers, for subscribing and putting my channel into double digits. And for those who haven't subscribed, I hope I earned your subscription. And yeah, I look forward to putting out more content. Thanks, and hope to see you guys next one.